Good morning everyone. Myself Dr. Santosh Kumar MB, Assistant Professor Department of Physics, Jain Institute of Technology, Davangere. I am demonstrating the dielectric experiment in this particular video. The dielectric experiment is conducted by charging and discharging of capacitor, in which we are supposed to be determining the dielectric constant. Will be to determine the dielectric constant of capacitor using DC charging and discharging circuit. This is the main aim of the experiment. We need to know about what is dielectric material. The dielectric materials are some kind of a material which is having the insulating property, and they are supposed to be increases the capacitance of the capacitor when it is introduced in between the plates of capacitor. So they are normally an insulator which can increase the capacitance when it introduced in between the plates of capacitors. So the capacitance increases due to the polarization of electric dipole in the material in presence of electric field. So this is the main criteria by which the capacitance of capacitor is increases. So I am supposed to show you here the two figures. In that figure you can see that one figure is having the dielectric material, and another figure the capacitor will not having any dielectric material. So there is a two parallel plates. So in between that the dielectric is introduced for increasing the capacitance of the capacitor. What is the principle? The principle of this particular experiment is charging of capacitor with DC power supply and discharging of capacitor through RC. In the discharging mode, we did not use the power supply. Next is the voltage increases exponentially and reaches to saturation in the charging mode, and in the discharging mode the voltage decreases exponentially till 0. So if you plot the graph of voltage versus time, so we will get exponential increasing curve in the charging mode and exponential decreasing curve in the discharging mode. The two curves are meeting at some point of time. That particular time is called as half time of capacitor, that is T off. So at which time the capacitor can have the potential difference 50%. 50% of potential difference is exist in the capacitor. So the apparatus required, we required 5 volts DC power supply and digital voltmeter, timer, resistor of known value, capacitor of known value, circuit unit and patch cards. The formula used for determining the dielectric constant epsilon R, this is called as dielectric constant, are also called as relative permittivity of the material, which is equals to D into T of into 10 raised to minus 6 whole divided by epsilon naught into A into 0.693 into R, where D is the thickness of the dielectric material and A is the area of the foil in meter square. Epsilon naught is the permittivity of free space, whose value is 8.853 into 10 raised to minus 12 farad per meter. R is the charging resistance in ohm. See, this is the circuit diagram of the experiment. You can notice there is a power supply S1, S2, resistor, capacitor and voltmeter. So S1 is a toggle switch and which is used to make the circuit into charge or discharge by keeping the S1 towards the C or towards the D. C stands for charging, D stands for discharging. So S2 is another toggle switch by using which we can make the circuit as start or halt. And next R is the resistor through which the capacitor can discharges, and C is the one of the value of capacitor across which voltage we need to record. So if the circuit taking into the charging mode, you can see in this slide, if the circuit is exist in the charging mode, what happens? So S1 is connecting the C and it disconnects the D. Then the power supply can give the voltage and that can pass us through S2. S2 is a switch if it is closed, and that will be passes through the resistor, and then it can reach us to a capacitor. Similarly, the negative of the power supply directly comes to the capacitor. The capacitor will starts to increase the voltage that can be recorded by the voltmeter. And if the circuit is taking into the discharge mode, then it disconnects the C and it can connect at the D. Then in the discharging mode, the voltage will not be utilized. Only the charge which is stored in the capacitor that can allow for the discharging through a resistor. If the circuit is closed by pressing the S2, if you press S2, then it closes the circuit, then it starts to discharge only through the resistor, across which we need to record the voltage, how the fashion of decrement in the voltage with respect to the time. This is the circuit diagram. You can see how to operate the switch S1. This is exist in the discharging mode. If you push towards the charge, that will be operated as charging mode. This is discharging mode. And next is toggle switch S2 in between G to H, which is connected. If you push towards the start, the timer will start to count, but the voltmeter will not recording the time. So now it is going to be halt because the voltmeter is not connected to the circuit, hence it's showing the 0. This is the reset button. If you press this reset button, the clock is going to be reset. So you can see there is going to making a 0 by pressing the clock reset button. So here Y to B no connection is there, and B to T there is a connection, no need of external connection. Next is Y to B should connect externally. Next is toggle switch S1, toggle switch S2, they are connected internally, no need of connection. This is S1 and this is S2, which is simply internally connected. These are the three different values of resistors, that is 100 kilo ohm, 220 kilo ohm, 300 kilo ohm. You can choose any one of the resistor from there. These are the three values of capacitor C1, C2, C3. So there is a positive terminal of capacitor and negative terminal, positive negative terminal of capacitor, positive terminal of voltmeter, and next is negative terminal of voltmeter. You have to connect these to the circuit. In between M and M, you have to connect one of the resistor from the side and take the same value. And this is the portion of connection of capacitor and voltmeter. So you have to connect first a capacitor by choosing any one of the value. This is the resistor, depending, and this is the capacitor. Use the proper value of resistor and capacitor and connect it to the circuit. Next is the voltmeter is also requires a connection from the specified region. To conduct this experiment, we need to follow some certain steps. Step 1. So connecting the circuit with patch cards by choosing the proper values of resistor and capacitors. Step 2. So it is the charging mode studies by keeping the circuit into the charging mode by using the toggle switch S1. Next, discharging mode studies. It is the continuation of the first part. So by just changing the circuit into the discharging mode, we will conduct the experiment. Next is, you must note that circuit remains the same for both the studies, that means in the charging mode studies and discharging mode studies. We are not supposed to change the circuit. Instead of that, we can change the circuit by using the toggle switch S2. Next is fourth part or fourth step. You need to plot the graph and do the calculation by using the required formula. So next is circuit connection. The circuit connection can be done by using the external patch cards explained. So use the proper values of resistor and capacitor. I am supposed to choose C1 as a capacitor and R1 as a resistor for my connections. C1 is 100 microfarad, R1 is 100 kilo ohm. So use this particular circuit. I am selected the R1 and C1 100 kilo ohm and 100 microfarad. So first is connect the X to A, Y to B first because there is no lines, and next is connect the resistor. Use the two wires, connect the resistor, and use the two wire, connect the positive plates of the capacitor to positive, negative plate of the capacitor to negative. Next is connect the voltmeter positive to positive of the circuit, negative to negative of the circuit. This will be the circuit connections. Next, you can see that how to take the readings by using the circuit, by keeping the circuit into the charging mode. I am explaining in the next slide. See, this is the circuit connection. So here you can see the connection already done. This is the connection. Connect the resistor using the external patch card. Resistor is over. Connect the capacitor. Connect the voltmeter. This will be the circuit unit. So the charging mode studies. Make the timer and voltmeter reading 0 by pressing the reset. The voltage can make 0 by direct discharge method, and keep the switch S1 to charging mode. Start the circuit by S2. Continuously take the voltmeter reading for every 5 seconds without any delay till the saturation of voltage. You can see in the resetting of timer and voltmeter. See this. Now the voltage and clock is not showing 0. By pressing reset button, you can make the clock to 0, and resetting by direct discharging. Unplug the one of the terminal of capacitor and short the terminals of capacitor. Then the circuit becomes 0. So next is tabulation of reading. How can we take the readings? There is a tabular column. So in the first column, see that with reference to the time, we are recording the voltage across the terminals of capacitor in the charging mode and in discharging mode. So separately we need to record the voltage across the terminals of capacitor for every 5 seconds. The interval of time is every 5 seconds. See that the interval is 5 seconds, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45. So take the time, and with reference to that you need to measure the voltage across the terminals of capacitor till the saturation of voltage. If the voltage the last values of voltages are two values are reoccurred, means that you can assume the voltage reaches to a saturation of voltage. And next is for the discharging mode, the last value of the reading of charging mode will be the zero time value of discharging mode. That means this will going to be first. So for example 4.51 will be the last value of the charging mode. The same value of will be noted for the discharging mode, that is 4.51 will be the value of discharging mode. So likewise continuously take the readings. So the method of taking the charging mode reading you can see in this particular video. So see here I have to take the circuit into the charging mode. Now all the timer is 0. Now the toggle switch S2 is there in the discharging mode. You make it into a charging mode. By the time you just have to take the timer. So keep the S1 to charging mode by toggling, and next start the switch. Once you start the switch, the timer, and next is the voltmeter starts to vary. So for this particular instant, for every 5 seconds you need to note down the continuously readings without any delay in the readings. So for every 5 seconds, 15 seconds 3.44, 20 seconds 3.87, 25 4.14. Likewise continuously take the readings. Don't stop anywhere. If it is feel difficulty, you mentally first prepare and need to take the readings. If you stop, you need to start from the beginning. At any point of time, don't stop the circuit. So now you can see it is almost reaches to a saturation, because the two values are supposed to be reoccurring. So this will be the final value. 4.51 will be the saturation value, because that will be constant for 3 times. So hence that is taken as a saturation. Now you need to go for the discharging mode. You need to go with these following procedures, that is press and hold reset button. You need to press and hold the reset button. Change the circuit into the discharging mode by using the S2. Immediately release the reset button. Note continuously reading for every 5 seconds without delay in the tabulation. So you need to take the continuous reading, and if you start the readings for if you counting the readings, and you need to tabulate the simultaneously. So your video you can see this is already the capacitor is having charged. So don't stop anywhere. The capacitor you should keep it to see the capacitor still exists in the charging mode. Press the reset button. Immediately using thumb you just discharge. So immediately that is going to be vary 2.50 for 5 seconds, 10 seconds 1.37, 15 seconds 0.85. So likewise take the readings till 0. So only thing is you need to press and hold the reset button, immediately change the circuit into charging mode and release the two switches simultaneously. Then the circuit is operating as discharging circuit. Continuously take the readings. So this is about the readings part. Next is all the values are tabulated. See that these are the values. Last value of this reading will be the first values of discharging mode. So this is the nature of graph. You can plot upon by choosing the proper scale. If you plot the graph, this is the nature of graph. The two curves are meeting, that is called as half time of capacitor. Next is the dielectric constant calculation. So by using the thickness of the material is D is equals to 75 microns, that is 0.075 into 10 raised to minus 6 meters, and length is 80 millimeter, that is 80 into 10 raised to power minus 3 millimeter, and next is breadth is 6 millimeter, that is 6 into 10 raised to 3 millimeters. Capacitance is 100 microfarad. So this is the value. If you substitute these values into the equation, we will get an answer that is called dielectric constant. It is a unitless quantity that you need to be write as a result. So thank you very much for watching this video. I hope it will be helpful for you people to manage your studies in the difficult time. Thank you very much.